was Anthony Robinson, the hero for the US men's national team on home soil Thursday night against El Salvador as Greg Berhalter's side pick up a 1-0 win and a huge 3 points on home soil as the road to Qatar continues for the US men's national team. And welcome along. Match day 9 in the books, and now only 5 match days remain. I'm Poppy Miller here with Ian Joy and our two favourite former US internationals, Jimmy Conrad and Heath Pearce, here with you, here to look ahead to the next stop on the road to the World Cup. And Jimmy, it's going to be a cold one, isn't it? North of the border against Canada. This is going to be a real test now for the US.
I think it will for sure, Poppy, and great to see you and Ian and Heath as always. But we just prepared for it. We just played in Columbus against El Salvador. That was the whole reason, right? To play in a cold climate so we could prepare to play in Canada. We're going to be fine. I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good about our chances.
Heath, what do you think? Are the US in the best place possible heading into this next match?
I guess so. I mean, it would be nice if they were, a little bit more advanced or even closer if I was talking from a point of being spoiled or excited. But I think they're in great form right now. They're in great spirits. Obviously, we saw in that match, in the last match against El Salvador, that they played a different lineup than I expected. I expect there to be another lineup against Canada. We have so much depth now that we're sort of spoiled with who's going to be in the lineup and who's going to perform. We're still looking for that starting 11. I had hoped that we'd have a consistent, or at least a consistent 7 or 8. I doubt we'll see that now. But Canada are a strong opponent. They also have the ability to rotate. They also have strength off of their bench that could be potential starters in their team. So I'm really excited to see this one, but it's certainly going to be a difficult match for the U.S. national team.
Yeah, it is going to be difficult because obviously you got Canada who are flying with confidence right now. They have that terrific home win against Mexico, and now they're looking to do the same against the United States. So this is going to be a very difficult test. Will the weather conditions play a role here? I'm intrigued to see what the weather conditions are actually like when it comes game time, because could see snow there, could see ice. Who knows what we're going to see? But I'm expecting a good game, good performance, and I expect Greg and the boys to be up for it.
All right, well, it's expected to be cold, isn't it? But let's just take ourselves back to the last outing for the US men's national team when they welcomed El Salvador to Columbus, Ohio. Of course, the US came into this match second in the table, just 1 point behind Canada. El Salvador has never beaten the US men's national team in World Cup qualifiers. And in 19 minutes in, it was Serginho Dest with the ball into the box, Ian.
Yeah, Ferreira's got to score this. When you're getting given the opportunity to play in that pinpoint striker role, you got to take chances like this in World Cup qualifiers. I thought the wing play on the night was very good. Dest getting forward, Robinson getting forward like this.
Yep, absolutely. And then it was more of the US, wasn't it, in the 42nd?
Well, we saw a lot of them getting 4 against 5 or 3 against 4 or 4 against 3 situations where they were outnumbering the El Salvadorian side, and they should have taken advantage of that. This one, well defended, good deflection over the top of the crossbar. Whale was busy all night long, Poppy, and he was to have an impact on the goal.
Well, it was scoreless at the half, wasn't it? But here was when the goal came in the 52nd minute.
Well, Ferreira's the one who heads the ball down into a danger zone, and of course Anthony Robinson, who's already scored in World Cup qualifying, getting yet again another goal for the US men's national team. It's a great finish and a great celebration to follow suit, but the build-up play, it was pure determination. No goal in the first half. You didn't have to wait too long into the second half for that goal to come. That's a fabulous finish into the bottom corner, 1-0 up.
And then Anthony Robinson with another opportunity 65 minutes in.
You could say he could have done better. It's on his weaker side with the right foot there, straight at the goalkeeper, who is expected to make that save. But again, I go back to it, Poppy. On the night, the US, they weren't at their best, but they got the best result, and that is a win.
Well, here's a look at the CONCACAF standings after match day 9. The US with 18 points. They've won 5, drawn 3 and lost just the 1 match. And of course, next up for them, a huge match in Hamilton against Canada for match day 10. Well, let's talk about this game then, shall we? Because the US, Jimmy, a massive talking point for them has, of course, been the selections that Greg Berhalter has gone with. We know this is a 3-match window, so what kind of team are you expecting him to roll out away from home in this next match?
Well, Poppy, I hope that we don't make too many changes. We saw it before in a similar window where we had 3 games in 8 days, where we made 7 or 8 changes. We went down to Panama after beating Jamaica at home in Austin, Texas, and it didn't look very good. We just didn't look comfortable. There was no consistency, too many changes. And you're putting players in spots where they don't necessarily shine. I hope that we don't see too many of those. I expect that Ricardo Pepi will step in the number 9 spot for Jesus Ferreira. Maybe Brendan Aronson gets to start here. Christian Pulisic was a little bit off the pace today for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe you give him another start, or maybe you want to bring him on as a super sub like we did successfully against Mexico when he scored the first goal of that vital game for us. And then everywhere else, I don't know if there's going to be too many changes. I want to see consistency, especially in our back line and in that midfield. I want McKennie, Musa, and Adams to play together as much as humanly possible because I think that is our midfield moving forward, and they need that rep and that repetitions together. Now, with regard to Canada, though, even though they don't have Alphonso Davies, you got Junior Hoylett, that number 10 that plays for them, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, and Tajon Buchanan, who all started and all were very good today against Honduras away from home. So it's going to be a tough test for our team in a lot of different ways. And I feel like because it's going to be a tough test, we need that consistency.
Yeah, absolutely, Jimmy. It's a good point, isn't it? Consistency is key. But you brought up Christian Pulisic there. And Heath, this has been a massive talking point all week. Where is Christian Pulisic heading into Thursday night? What did you make of his performance Thursday night? And do you think he showed enough to get the start come Sunday?
Not at all. I think it's difficult to not start Christian Pulisic. I think he could be that spark off the bench. We've traditionally seen him come back when he's not in form with his club team and find his form with the national team. In fact, most of the game I was watching him quite closely, and he looked a little bit slow. He looked a little bit hesitant. He looked cold, like he looked stiff. And it just looked he didn't look like himself. And the good thing is we had other players that could lift up the team around them and provide that into the attack, but I certainly don't think he did enough to warrant another start. He is Christian Pulisic after all, though, and I think he's an integral part of this team. I could see there being a potential change with him as well. And then looking at that back line, that's another thing that I think maybe you sub out Serginho Dest with something a little more conservative. Again, I go back to that match against El Salvador. We were high and wide with both of our fullbacks, so it's worked to our advantage, but there were a few moments where we were exposed defensively, not having the right kind of balance, perhaps against Canada, because they have the threats, because they have the tools. And Canada they played a number of good players, but Ike Ugbo wasn't out there. Richie Larea didn't get the start. So they have a number of options that they can go to mix things up. Eustachio as well. They have so much depth that they will punish you if you're not well balanced, and you're playing away from home. So you have to approach it a little bit differently. So Christian Pulisic could be a change that I see. I think it's a difficult one for Greg Berhalter to ask for, knowing that on his day, he is the best player on the national team still for sure. But looking at, if you're going off that past performance, I certainly don't think that he earned it. And again, on that back line, there could be a change there just to be a little more conservative and safe, knowing that you need to get points on the road, knowing you need to win your home games. If you can get a point against Canada or all 3 points, you're in great shape for a World Cup.
I want to stick a little bit on Christian Pulisic right now, just for a moment. Before that game against El Salvador, obviously he was thrown into the wolves with the press conference yet again. Some random questions, some pretty terrible questions. And then the best response he gave was about his mental health. I don't know if anybody saw it, but he really stood up and was speaking openly about his mental health and how it's been a tough year for him at Chelsea, how he's been frustrated, how he's been a little unhappy, and the toll it's taken on his body, and mentally the toll it's taken. Now, after a performance like that, he'll be disappointed personally, right? It's not the best performance from Christian Pulisic. Heath is 100% right. That type of performance could leave you vulnerable for your starting spot. However, I think the best place for Christian Pulisic right now is to throw him back out there into the pitch. Given the captain's armband once again, he still is, in my opinion, the best player that's out there for the US national team, even though he hasn't shown it so far through the qualifiers. You got to keep on pushing him. You got to keep on trying to give him confidence. You got to keep on giving him these minutes, because you know at some point, at any time, he could just break out and he could be that number 10 that we all want him to be. Now, the nation, the country, the fans, we're all fans now, and Jimmy and Heath, obviously former players, we all understand the mental side of the game, how difficult it can be. But obviously Christian's on that next level with a huge price tag and the expectancy that comes at Chelsea Football Club, but also the expectancy when it comes to being Captain of America. We all want to see the best Christian Pulisic. I think you keep putting him out there because this kid needs it. He needs to be out there on the field. And I mentioned it before. In big games, this guy knows how to shine. And I want to see him be a standout performer in that game against Canada. I really do.
It's a great point, isn't it? Because he loves the big moment. I mean, we've seen some iconic moments this summer with him against Mexico, against these different teams. So you feel like that spark is just one goal away.
You know, I touch upon the mental health side of things because, you know, we're also open speaking about our mental health now, and I can speak from personal experience that whenever I was in a difficult position mentally, the best place for me to be was in the white lines. It was when that whistle blew. My mind was just taken to another place. There was no more pressure. There was no more stress. You could just play and enjoy the game. I know Jimmy's been very open about his mental health as well, which I admire. So many athletes coming out now talking about it. But if you get a second to go back and watch that pre-match press conference before the El Salvador game, he lights up talking about his mental health. And he's normally boring when it comes to press conference, Christian. He doesn't really want to be there. So the mental side of things I thought was really interesting. Now, a game like that against El Salvador where he was not at his best, it was disappointing. But he is the one who's probably the biggest critic of himself. He needs to get back out there. Get back out there, get back playing, and he will take that national team performance back to London with him, and let's hope he finds that form and consistency really soon.
Yeah, Jimmy, because it was a really interesting press conference, wasn't it? And we really got a glimpse into life off the pitch for Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, I think it was the first time, Poppy, that I'd seen him talk about the mental health side of it, where he said, well, professionally, I'm here, and personally, I'm here, and I'm having a tough time. Not necessarily, he said, on the personal level, but it is impacting how things are happening professionally. Professionally is helping, or excuse me, impacting what's happening on the personal level. He needed a good performance tonight. I think he was trying too hard. He was trying to get the ball and maybe take on a couple extra people to maybe be the hero, to replicate things that he had done in the past, as you mentioned, Poppy. And sometimes you just have to let the game come to you. You don't have to force it. Just play what you see, play and move. He's very quick. He's going to get his opportunities. And then when he gets isolated in 1v1 situations, I think that's when we need him to be in full confidence and go at teams. But when he's trying to do everything by himself, that's not the best version of him. And that kind of harkens back to when he was a little bit younger, trying to do everything by himself. And I thought he'd gotten out of that. But maybe because he's in this situation where he feels like he's got to prove everything to get back into good graces with the national team and Chelsea and all that, he might be putting a little extra pressure. And hopefully Greg and the rest of his teammates can put an arm around him and say, hey, man, just go out there and be yourself. Don't worry about anything else. And let's get after it. I don't know. It's kind of simple, but sometimes it's hard at the same time.
Yeah, because no doubt the whole team is going to be so up for this game, aren't they, Heath? I mean, Canada in the top spot in the CONCACAF standings. They're unbeaten so far, the only team to be so. Is this the best team in CONCACAF for you at the minute?
Absolutely. I mean, and what's interesting about this matchup is they can play with two strikers up top, with Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. They can match up, which is something different that we don't usually see. It's a very rare thing to see two strikers match up top. That's going to occupy our center backs. That's going to change the dynamic of Musa, McKinney, and Adams, or how we have our back line, or how we keep our full backs back. They have so many attacking threats. And again, defensively, they don't get enough credit as well because they don't have the big names. All of their big names, similar to ours, are in the attack. So we praise and we glorify everything that they have, but they've been very hard to score against as well. And then you add the elements to the game. You add the fact that they're at home, and you add the fact of the momentum they have going all the way back to the Gold Cup and this belief system that they have they can beat anybody. It's going to be a difficult game. I think the only moment that I see is Pierre, who went out injured in the game off of a tackle, as well as Atiba Hutchinson, who also took a knock. Two of their starting midfielders in that last match could be out, and that's where I think the U.S. could win that battle. If they can win that midfield battle, I think we have the advantage, but I think we match up really well, and I'm even giving Canada the slight edge in terms of being the better team in CONCACAF, based on results, based on the way that they're approaching games, the way that they're performing in games, going all the way back to their learning lesson against Honduras in their very first match. They've been fantastic since then, and they're going to be difficult to beat.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be embarrassed by saying that, Heath. Come on, just give them credit. They're absolutely brilliant to watch right now. And how often have we been able to say that about Canada when it comes to World Cup qualifying? You both have competed against Canada at multiple levels when it comes to the U.S. national team, and it's not necessarily been somewhat of a big derby, right? Now this is the noisy neighbour from the north. This is a national team that means business. This is a national team that could potentially finish top of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying if the US are not careful, if Mexico are not careful. They're that good. They're performing well. They're difficult to beat. They don't concede many goals, only 5 goals conceded. However, they do give you an opportunity. And you got to be prepared to take those chances in these big games, especially when it comes to the top of the table clashes against teams like Canada. So really impressed with what Canada have done. I know Alphonso Davies is not there. That's a shame. We wanted the best players to be playing. In games like this, we want to see the best two national teams going head-to-head when it comes to a big game like this. But Canada have got some weapons regardless. They have a real killer squad of players, and it's the best squad of players I have seen for a very long time from Canada, and they're going to make a good game of it. But I hope the US turns up, because as of right now, And I mentioned this before going into that El Salvador game, Poppy. We have not seen the best from the US men's national team either. So they've got to turn up on the night first and foremost. They've got to give 110% effort. But I want to see a better performance. I want to see some entertainment. I want to see it start to click for Greg and his boys. And if that happens, I think they'll be too strong for Canada.
So you backing the US then?
Of course.
All right, well, guess what? Time now to put Jimmy Conrad on the spot. From a wagering perspective, Jimmy, what have you got for us? What stands out to you in this match?
Well, based on what I've seen in both the matches for U.S. and Canada going into this one, I think it's going to be a cagey affair. The last time they played against each other earlier in the U.S., it was a 1-1 result. And I think there's going to be a lot of poking and prodding. Somewhat conservative. I think a draw actually benefits both teams. It doesn't hurt either one. They can still inch closer. I'm straddling the fence, but I'm going to start here. I'm going to go under 2.5 goals. I think it's going to be under. I think that there's going to have to be some discipline from the U.S. not to maybe bomb forward with Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest at the same time. I think we can get exposed there, especially by Tejan Buchanan. So we got to be careful there. And I'm curious if there's any lineup choices that change that. But under 2.5 goals, minus 155. And then I like the draw, plus 200. I mean, it's like kissing your cousin. It's Canada or whatever. But you know, I just feel like there's some good value there, and I can't really lean one way or the other. I thought Canada was tremendous tonight, especially without Alphonso Davies, and I just have a front line that makes me a little bit nervous, and I think we're going to play a little conservatively as well. So I'm going with the draw. Get off my back, everybody.
Another draw from Jimmy Conrad. I mean, would we expect anything different at this point? Heath, what about you? Let's get a prediction from you.
Oh, I wanted to go with the draw too, but since Jimmy did, I'm just gonna say something and say the U.S. wins 2-1 late in the match. It'll be exciting. We're all gonna cheer. Hurrah, hurrah, we're a step closer to the World Cup. U.S. 2-1 over Canada.
Yeah, I love that, Heath. And actually, I wrote down 2-1 as well. I think that I'd like to see that first goal go in from the U.S. I'd like to see Pepe be the one who scores that first goal. But what I will say is, and something I really think that the national team needs to improve, I'm sure Jimmy will back me up on this, set plays. I'm still waiting to see that set play goal. And there's been some good crosses into the box from set plays, but no real killer finishing. So watch out, and I'm sure Jimmy will come up with the odds on the night. Watch out for Walker Zimmerman when it comes to a set play. I want to see him get a goal. I think the US wins 2-1. I think it'll be a close game. I really would like to see Canada at their best and make this a real interesting affair, because I want to see how good the US are.
I love how specific Ian has got as well with his predictions. Jimmy, I'm pretty sure he's coming for your job pretty soon. He's got his odds in his pocket, waiting, ready to go.
It's not hard when he sits on the fence and goes for a draw every game, Poppy, is it? Come on.
I'm glad he's the only one that's sat on the fence here today, that's for sure. Well, a huge match then awaits in Ontario as Canada welcome the US to Hamilton, and we will have you covered on Paramount Plus, both live from the ground and from our New York City studios as the road to Qatar continues.